I never in my wildest dreams imagined that one split-second mistake of handing my newborn baby to my ex-boyfriend first would detonate my entire life in under 72 hours. But here I am, 1 week postpartum, sitting in an empty apartment with a newborn, my husband's belongings gone, and divorce looming over me like a dark cloud. My hands trembled as I clutched my newborn baby against my chest. The steady beep of monitors was the only sound breaking the suffocating silence between us. "Where is he going?" I whispered, watching as the door closed behind my husband's retreating figure. "Alex? Alex." But he was gone, and just like that, my perfect life began to unravel. I'm Lily, 29 years old, and I never thought one simple choice would destroy everything I loved in less than 2 days. Yet here I sat, 1 week after giving birth, alone in our apartment with my newborn daughter, while my husband's closet stood empty and divorce papers waited on the kitchen counter. Let me tell you how I managed to break my marriage faster than my childbirth injuries could heal. Alex and I met during a rainy afternoon at a small coffee shop downtown. I spilled my latte on his laptop, and instead of getting angry, he laughed and asked for my number. We dated for 2 wonderful years before he proposed on a beach at sunset. Everything seemed perfect. We both had great careers, a beautiful apartment in the city, and we agreed on almost everything. Almost. The one thing that always caused tension between us was my friendship with Noah, my ex-boyfriend from college. Noah and I had dated for 3 years before realizing we were better as friends. We broke up 5 years ago, but somehow never stopped being in each other's lives. When Alex and I first started dating, he seemed okay with Noah being around. I remember introducing them at a party, watching anxiously as they shook hands, studying Alex's face for any sign of discomfort. He smiled politely, and I thought everything would be fine, but after we got engaged, things changed. Tiny comments started slipping into our conversations. "Why is Noah texting you at midnight?" Alex would ask, his voice light, but his eyes serious, when I laughed at something Noah sent. "It's just a funny meme," I'd explain, rolling my eyes. "You're being silly. Noah and I are just friends." I told Alex he needed to get over his jealousy, that it wasn't healthy. I didn't understand why he couldn't see how innocent it all was. Then came the pregnancy test with its 2 pink lines. I found out I was pregnant just 9 months after our wedding, completely unplanned. We had this perfect 5-year plan that definitely didn't include having a baby right away. I missed 2 pills during our friend Jamie's destination wedding weekend, and suddenly everything changed. I was terrified when I saw those lines appear. My hands shook as I walked out of the bathroom to show Alex. "I'm pregnant," I whispered, tears filling my eyes. "What are we going to do?" But Alex's reaction surprised me. His whole face lit up with joy, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "We're having a baby?" he asked in wonder, his voice cracking with emotion. Before I even got past the morning sickness phase, Alex had downloaded every parenting app available and ordered a stack of books with titles like The Expectant Father and Your Baby's First Year. He spent evenings reading to my belly, his hands splayed across my stomach, waiting to feel the first tiny kicks. Around the time Alex and I got married, Noah had moved to Seattle for work. This made things easier since he wasn't physically around to cause tension. But 3 months into my pregnancy, Noah called with news. "Guess who's moving back?" he said, his voice excited through the phone. "I got transferred to the main office. We'll be in the same city again." After he moved back, Noah appointed himself as my unofficial pregnancy buddy. He brought me ginger candies for nausea and texted almost daily to check how I was feeling. Sometimes he'd show up at our apartment with food when Alex was working late, claiming he just happened to be in the neighborhood. I noticed Alex's jaw tighten whenever my phone buzzed with a text from Noah. "Doesn't Noah have his own life to worry about?" Alex would ask, trying to sound casual. "He's just being supportive," I'd reply, not understanding why Alex couldn't appreciate having another person looking out for me during this challenging time. As my pregnancy progressed, Noah became more involved. He'd offer to drive me to appointments if Alex couldn't make it because of work. He even came with us to a few childbirth classes when Alex had to cover an emergency shift at the hospital where he worked as a doctor. Looking back now, I can see how Alex's face would darken every time Noah inserted himself into another pregnancy milestone. The way his hands would clench when Noah would talk about our baby, as if he had some claim to her too. By my 7th month, Alex finally couldn't take it anymore. "This has to stop, Lily," he said one night after Noah had left. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch, a distance that felt both physical and emotional.
"What are you talking about?"
I asked, genuinely confused. "It's not normal for your ex to be this involved in our pregnancy," Alex said, his voice strained with emotion. "Every time I turn around, Noah is here. He's at our doctor's appointments, he's bringing you food, he's texting you at all hours. You're being controlling," I shot back, feeling defensive and attacked. "Noah is just a good friend who cares about me." Alex ran his hands through his hair in frustration. "He's not just a friend, Lily. He's your ex-boyfriend who's clearly still in love with you, and you're either too blind to see it or you enjoy the attention too much to stop it." His words stung like a slap. I felt my face grow hot with anger. "How dare you?" I yelled. "Are you trying to cut me off from my friends when I need support the most? Is that the kind of husband you are?" The hurt in Alex's eyes should have warned me, but I was too angry to notice. 3 weeks before my due date, everything came to a head. I started having contractions while Alex was at a medical conference 2 hours away. When I called him, he immediately left but got stuck in terrible traffic. After timing contractions for an hour and realizing they were getting closer together, I panicked. Without thinking twice, I called Noah. He arrived at our apartment 15 minutes later, his face worried but determined. He helped me into his car and drove me to the hospital, holding my hand through each contraction at red lights. By the time I was checked into the labor and delivery room, the contractions were coming strong and fast. No one never left my side, getting iced chips and talking to the nurses when the pain was too much for me to speak clearly. Alex finally arrived 4 hours later. His hair was a mess, his tie askew, and worry lines creased his forehead. When he walked into the room, the atmosphere instantly changed. Noah was sitting right next to my bed in what was obviously the partner's chair, and he didn't immediately move to give Alex his spot. "How are you feeling, honey?" Alex asked, coming to the opposite side of the bed. "I'm hanging in there," I said, but then immediately turned to Noah when another contraction hit. "Can you press on my back like the nurse showed you?" I didn't notice then how Alex's face fell as Noah jumped up to help me through the contraction, demonstrating a technique they must have learned while Alex was stuck in traffic. The next 18 hours were a blur of pain, exhaustion, and medical staff coming in and out. Alex tried his best to take over the support role, but it was obvious he felt like an outsider. Noah didn't pick up on hints to leave, or maybe he ignored them, staying through the entire labor. When our daughter finally arrived at 5:37 in the morning, I was completely worn out. The nurse cleaned her up while the doctor finished with me. Alex had tears in his eyes, and even Noah looked emotional standing in the corner of the room. "Would you like to hold your daughter?" the nurse asked, coming toward the bed with our tiny, blanket-wrapped baby. This is the moment that destroyed everything. I looked up, still dazed from the delivery, and saw both Alex and Noah standing there. Without really thinking, I gestured to Noah and said, "Let him hold her first. He's been here from the beginning." The nurse hesitated, looking between the men uncertainly. Alex's face went completely white. His mouth opened slightly like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. The room went dead silent except for the baby's tiny noises. "Are you sure?" the nurse asked, clearly uncomfortable. "Yeah, it's fine," I said, still not registering the bomb I had just dropped. "Noah, come meet my daughter." The nurse reluctantly placed my newborn daughter in Noah's arms. He looked down at her with an expression of wonder and whispered, "She's perfect, Lily." I smiled tiredly, feeling this strange sense of completeness seeing him hold her. It wasn't until I glanced over at Alex that I realized something was terribly wrong. He'd stepped back against the wall, his face a mask of hurt and shock. "What's wrong?" I asked, genuinely confused by his reaction. "What's wrong?" Alex repeated in a low, shaking voice. "You just gave our daughter to your ex-boyfriend to hold before me, her father." The way he said it made my stomach drop, but my immediate reaction was to get defensive. "Oh my God, don't make this into a big deal," I snapped. "He was here first and has been helping the whole time. You'll get to hold her next. That's not the point, Lily, Alex said, his voice tight with controlled anger. That was supposed to be our moment. Mine and yours and our daughter's. Not his. Noah shifted awkwardly, still holding the baby. Maybe I should give her to you, man, he said to Alex, finally seeming to read the room. No, he's overreacting, I said quickly. I turned to Alex. Why are you trying to create drama right now? I just gave birth. Can you stop making everything about you for 5 minutes? I could see my words cut deep, but before he could respond, my phone pinged with a notification. Noah had taken a selfie with the baby while we were arguing and sent it to me. I reflexively checked it, and Alex watched me do it, his expression hardening further. Seriously, he said. You're checking your phone right now? It's just a picture, I said, holding up the phone to show him. Look how cute they are together. Alex stared at the picture, then at me, like he couldn't believe what was happening. I'm going to get some air, he said finally, turning toward the door. Alex, don't be ridiculous, I called after him. Come hold your daughter. He paused at the doorway, looking back at the three of us, me in the hospital bed, Noah still cradling our newborn. Is she? He asked quietly, then walked out and I rolled my eyes at his dramatic exit. He'll cool off, I told Noah and the nurse, who was looking increasingly uncomfortable. He's just tired and emotional. I wish I had understood then what that moment meant to him. I wish I had seen the pain in his eyes for what it was. But I didn't, and that mistake would cost me everything. Would you like me to continue with the second part of the story? #the night everything changed, part 2. The next day was a parade of nurses, lactation consultants, and doctor check-ins. Alex stayed in the room but remained distant, spending most of his time either holding the baby silently or staring at his phone. When Noah texted asking if he could visit, and I said yes, Alex's whole body tensed up. I thought we'd have some family time today, Alex said quietly. We are, I replied as Noah arrived with a bouquet of pink roses and a teddy bear. Noah's just stopping by to check on us. That's not what family means, Lily, Alex muttered, but I pretended not to hear him. Noah stayed for hours. When a nurse came in to check my vitals, she smiled at Noah and said, Dad, would you like to do skin-to-skin with the baby while I work with Mom? Before I could correct her, Noah laughed and said, Oh, I'm not the dad. Just the best friend. The nurse looked confused, then embarrassed. When Alex heard about the mix-up, he didn't say anything. He just took the baby from the bassinet and sat in the chair furthest from Noah. Later that evening, after Noah finally left, Alex tried to talk to me. Lily, we need to discuss some boundaries here, he said, his voice tired but determined. What boundaries? I asked, scrolling through the pictures Noah had sent me from the day. I was posting some to Facebook with captions like, baby's first day with her favorite people. Noah being here all the time, Alex said. The nurse thought he was the father. Don't you see how messed up this is? I looked up from my phone, annoyed. No, I don't. He's being supportive while you're being weirdly jealous. He drove you to the hospital, Lily, Alex said, his voice tight. That should have been me. I'm her father. I'm your husband. And I feel like I'm being pushed out of my own family before it's even started. You're being ridiculous, I said, shaking my head. No one's pushing you out of anything. You're making a big deal out of nothing because of your insecurities. Alex didn't say anything else that night. The next morning, he was quieter than usual, but helped me shower and get ready for discharge. The doctor said we could go home around noon, so we started packing up our things. Noah might stop by today, I said casually, folding baby clothes. He picked up some groceries for us. Alex stopped folding a blanket. Lily, I don't want him at our apartment today. Why not? He's just dropping off groceries. Because I'd like one day, just one day, with you and our daughter, without your ex-boyfriend being involved. I sighed dramatically. You're still on this? I thought you would have gotten over it by now. Gotten over what, exactly? Alex asked, his voice rising slightly. The fact that you keep disrespecting our marriage? That you care more about his feelings than mine? That you seem to want him more involved in our daughter's life than her own father? Now you're just being ridiculous, I said, rolling my eyes. Noah is just a friend who's being helpful. Alex stared at me for a long moment, like he was seeing me clearly for the first time. I need to get some air, he said finally, grabbing his jacket. I'll be back before discharge. At 11:30, I was all packed and ready to go, but Alex hadn't returned. I texted him, "Where are you? We're ready to go soon." No response at BY noon. I was getting annoyed. The nurse came in with the discharge papers, and I had to tell her my husband wasn't back by AT 12:30. I was genuinely worried and called Alex's phone. Straight to voicemail BY 1 p.m. I was furious and called Noah to come pick us up. When we got to the apartment, I was shocked to find Alex's suitcase gone, along with some of his clothes and his laptop. On the kitchen counter was an envelope with my name on it. I handed the baby to Noah and tore it open with shaking hands. "Lily," the letter began, "I can't do this anymore. The past 2 days have made it clear that I'm not a priority in your life or our daughters. I've tried to talk to you about the inappropriate relationship with Noah multiple times, but you refuse to see or acknowledge how your actions hurt me. Having my child handed to another man before me was the final straw. I need some space to think about whether this marriage can work. I'll be staying at my brother's place for now. I'll reach out about arrangements to see the baby. Please don't contact me for a few days. Alex." What the hell? I breathed, dropping the letter on the counter.
He left.
He actually left. What's wrong? Noah asked, gently rocking my daughter. Alex left. He took his stuff and left. I could feel tears welling up in my eyes, not sad tears, angry ones. Who leaves their wife and newborn baby? What kind of man does that? Let me see, Noah said, leaning over to read the letter. Oh wow, that's intense. It's completely irresponsible is what it is. I fumed. I just had a baby, his baby, and he's throwing a tantrum because I let you hold her first? Who cares who held her first? Noah shifted uncomfortably. I mean, I can see how that might have been important to him, not you too. I snapped. He's being ridiculous. The next morning, I posted on Facebook. Nothing shows a man's true character like how he acts when things don't go his way. Apparently, some fathers think it's okay to abandon their one-day-old daughter because they didn't get to hold her first. Single motherhood. Here I come. 3 days after coming home from the hospital, I finally got a text from Alex. I'll be by tomorrow at 2 p.m. to see the baby. Please have Noah not be there. When Alex arrived the next day, he looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red-rimmed, and he had the beginnings of a beard. Can I hold her? He asked. Not even greeting me, I handed him our daughter, and his face softened immediately. He sat on the edge of the couch, as far from me as possible, and just stared at her. So, are you done with your little tantrum? I asked, crossing my arms. He looked up, his expression hardening again. This isn't a tantrum, Lily. This is me finally standing up for myself after years of being disrespected. Years. I scoffed. That's a little dramatic, don't you think? No, it's not, he said quietly. It's been the same pattern our entire relationship. Noah calls, you go running. Noah needs something. It takes priority over our plans. Noah's feelings always matter more than mine. That's not fair. I protested. Noah's been helping me while you've been gone. I'm gone because you made it impossible for me to stay, Alex said, his voice tight with emotion. Do you have any idea what it feels like to watch your wife hand your newborn child to another man first? To have that moment stolen from you? For the first time, I felt a twinge of doubt. Put that way, it did sound bad, but I was still too angry and proud to admit it. You're overreacting. It wasn't that big a deal. It was to me, Alex said simply. And the fact that you still can't see, that is exactly why I needed to leave. Before he left, he said he'd have his lawyer contact me about a formal custody arrangement. Lawyer? I repeated, shocked. Are you serious right now? Yes, he said. I'm filing for divorce. 3 weeks after the birth, I received divorce papers. Alex had filed on grounds of irreconcilable differences, but the detailed allegations mentioned inappropriate relationship with a third party. I was furious. How dare he imply I cheated on him. I called my college friend Zoe, a family attorney, and asked her to represent me. These accusations are ridiculous, I told her. I never cheated on Alex. Zoe was quiet for a moment after reading through the papers. Emotional infidelity doesn't necessarily mean physical cheating, she said carefully. It means prioritizing another person emotionally over your spouse. Based on what you've told me, there might be some validity to his claims.
What?
You're supposed to be on my side. I am on your side, Zoe said patiently. But courts don't look favorably on situations where one spouse has a very close, boundary-crossing relationship with an ex. As if things weren't complicated enough, Alex requested a paternity test as part of the proceedings. That's insulting, I hissed when he told me. You know she's yours.
Doi.
Alex asked, looking at me directly. Because from where I'm standing, it seems like you and Noah have been a lot closer than you've admitted. As I watched him walk away, I felt sick to my stomach, not just with anger at the accusation, but with a tiny spark of fear. There was one night, about 10 months ago, when Alex was away on a business trip and Noah and I had gone out for drinks to celebrate his return to town. We'd both gotten pretty wasted, and my memory of the end of the night was fuzzy. When I finally worked up the courage to ask Noah about it, his reaction only increased my anxiety. A paternity test, he repeated, his face going oddly blank. Why would he want that? Is there any reason at all, that this test might not show Alex is the father? I asked slowly. He swallowed visibly. We kissed. That's all. You passed out right after we kissed. That's it. I pressed him, not entirely believing him. Yes, that's it, he insisted. But something in his eyes made me wonder if he was telling the whole truth. The court-ordered paternity test was scheduled for when the baby was 6 weeks old. They took cheek swabs from both Alex and the baby. Those were the longest 5 days of my life. Waiting for results, and on the 5th day, Alex called. I got the results. Can you meet me at the park near my brother's place? Alex was waiting on a bench, staring at the ground. I sat beside him, the baby asleep in her carrier. Just tell me, I said, unable to bear the suspense any longer. He pulled an envelope from his jacket and handed it to me. I opened it with trembling fingers and skimmed until I found the conclusion. The alleged father, Alex Mitchell, is excluded as the biological father of the tested child. The world tilted sideways.
No, y whisperat.
There must be some mistake. There's no mistake, Alex said, his voice hollow. I had them run it twice. Alex, I don't understand how this could happen. I didn't think. Save it, he said, standing up. The facts speak for themselves. Please, I begged, tears streaming down my face. I honestly didn't know. I was sure she was yours. He looked down at the sleeping baby, and I saw his eyes fill with tears. So was I, he said quietly. But she's not mine. And you've been lying to me our entire marriage. I wasn't lying, I insisted. I really thought. Stop, he cut me off. Even if you didn't know for sure, you knew it was a possibility. I'm done, Lily. What happens now? I called after him as he turned to leave. Now you call Noah and tell him he's a father, he said without looking back. The divorce will be finalized as quickly as possible. I called Noah from the park bench. The results came back. She's not Alex's. A long silence followed. Are you sure? He finally asked. Yes, I said, my voice breaking. Which means she's yours, Noah. My God, you're her father. I need some time to process this, he said. Can I call you back? But he didn't call back. Not that day, not the next. When I finally reached him 3 days later, his voice was distant, formal. I need to think about what this means for my life, he said. This wasn't part of my plan. It wasn't part of mine either. I snapped. But she exists, and she's your responsibility too. I know, he said quickly. I just need some space to figure things out.
Space.
That's what they all wanted. Alex wanted space from me. Noah wanted space from his responsibilities. And I was left alone with a baby whose very existence had shattered my life into unrecognizable pieces. Noah eventually agreed to a DNA test, which confirmed he was the father, but he was hesitant about taking an active role in our daughter's life. He offered financial support but balked at the idea of regular visitation. "I'm not ready to be a dad," he admitted during one of our increasingly tense conversations. "Neither was I," I shouted, finally reaching my breaking point. "You wanted to be so involved when you thought she was Alex's. You were right there, holding her first, playing house in my marriage, and now that you find out she's actually yours, you're running away." "That was different," Noah muttered. "I was just being supportive then." "No," I said, the truth finally dawning on me. "You were marking your territory. You liked the idea of being involved in our lives and undermining my marriage. You just didn't want the actual responsibility." 2 months after the paternity results, my divorce from Alex was finalized. The last time I saw him was at the lawyer's office, signing the final papers. "I hope you find happiness," he said as we parted, and I could tell he meant it. "I'm sorry," I replied, the words woefully inadequate for the damage I'd caused, and my daughter is 6 months old now. Sometimes, late at night when she's asleep, I scroll through old photos of Alex and me in happier times. I think about all the moments when I could have made different choices, all the times I could have respected his feelings about Noah, all the boundaries I should have set but didn't. I thought letting my ex hold the baby first was cute, a sweet moment between friends. Instead, it was the final straw that broke my marriage before we even left the hospital, and now I have to live with the consequences of that choice every single day. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that relationships have boundaries for a reason, not because of jealousy or possessiveness, but because respect matters. Trust matters. Putting your partner first matters. I just learned that lesson too late.